Well, welcome to the Stories at Home family project topic, Rainforest. Now, if I say the word rainforest, you probably think about the South America and the Amazon basin. And yet that's the biggest rainforest in the world. And what do rainforests need? Well, I suppose they need trees, they need sunshine, they need warmth, and they need water. Now, there are a lot of rainforests around the world, but that's the biggest. But I've never been to the Amazon, but I have been to a rainforest in Australia, up in the north of Queensland, near a big town called Cairns. There's a place called Daintree, and there's wonderful rainforest, and you can go wandering through it and climb up on a step so that you're wandering through the canopy of the trees on a walkway around the top. So I thought today to introduce the rainforest topic, I wouldn't tell you a story from South America. Maybe I'll tell you a story from Australia. And I'll tell you a story about a frog. Now, she was probably a tree frog, but I'm going to have to use my friend, Froggy. So meet Froggy. Yes. Yeah. Would you like to play the frog in the story? You would? Oh, yeah, don't get so excited, Froggy. You can play Ticklick. Okay, are you ready? Well, let me tell you about Ticklick. This story comes from a time when it said there were no people in the world, just animals. Now, it was a bit different because all the animals could talk back then. But the main difference was that the whole world, so it said in this story, was nothing but desert. It was dry and it was empty, and there were no plants and no trees. Except in one place. There was one great big beautiful waterhole, a wonderful pond, a lake, and in that clean water, all the animals came there to drink. And of course, because there was water and sunshine, around the pond grew, around the pool, the lake, grew lots and lots of trees and plants so that the animals could come and eat and drink and rest there. And then, during the daytime, they went back to wander in the desert. But I mentioned there was a frog, and her name was Ticklick. Yeah, that's you. Yes, you ready to play your part? Well, Ticklick lived near the water, and every day she went down to the water and she'd take a drink with all the other animals. But she didn't go off into the desert. She used to sit there on a big rock right next to the pool of water and go, I like that water. It's blue and clean and clear. I don't just want to drink the water, I want to get in and swim in the water, because I'm a water animal. I know I'm a water animal. That's what I am. Well, one day she couldn't resist it at all, and she jumped into the water, and once she was in there, now I couldn't bring water with me, so I brought this beautiful blue silk, which will be the water, and once she was in the water swimming around, she didn't want to get out at all. And in the evening, when all the other animals came back, there was Ticklick the frog swimming in the waters of the great pool. There's a frog in our water, said the animals. Now, if you came home to take a drink of water or orange juice or anything else and you found a frog swimming in it, I'm sure you wouldn't want to drink it either. And neither did the animals, and they told Ticklick very firmly to get out of the water. No, said Ticklick, I won't get out of the water. I'm a water animal. That's what I am. Well, the animals had a think, and they decided they were going to have to get Ticklick out. What could they do? Well, they asked the wombats and the kangaroos to come together, and then they stretched out, and the wombats held on to the kangaroos' tails, and they all made a long chain until the kangaroo in the front left over so far she was right almost in the water, and she just grabbed Ticklick and she pulled Ticklick out of the water. Ticklick was very cross and very sulky, and she went off behind the big rock to sulk. Ha! And all the animals had a drink. And the next day they got up in the morning, they had another drink, and off they went into the wilderness, into the desert for the day, but not Ticklick. She went on sulking. Now, I'm sure you never sulk, but people who sulk usually say, it's not fair. And the more you say, it's not fair, the more you sulk. And the more you sulk, the more you say, it's not fair. And that's what happened to Ticklick all day long. She sat behind the rock going, it's not fair, until she was really thirsty. So she went down to the water to have a drink. And she drank, and she drank, and she drank. And then she went on drinking. And she drank, and she drank, and she drank, and still she drank. And what did she do next? Well, she drank some more. And she drank, and she drank, until she drank, until every drop of water in the waterhole was inside Ticklick the frog, and all that was left was a few muddy bubbles. And then Ticklick, swollen up in her big warty skin, like a great fat water balloon, went off, blubber-dob, 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 to sleep it off behind the big rock. And then the animals came home. They looked into the pool of water. There's nothing to drink, they said. All that's left is a few muddy bubbles. What's happened to our water? I know where it is, said the littlest kangaroo. It's all in Ticklick the frog. I saw her. She's sleeping behind the big rock. She's going blubber-dubber-dubber-dob, blubber-dubber-dubber-dob, and ever so often a small drop of water comes out as she snores. The other animals all went to have a look, and sure enough, there was Ticklick the frog fast asleep in her big, fat, warty skin, looking just like a great big water balloon, going blubber-dubber-dubber-dob, blubber-dubber-dubber-dob. We've got to get the water out of Ticklick, they said, but what could they do? We could try jumping on her, said the kangaroos. That might squeeze all the water out. So one by one they got into a line and they gave their very biggest leaps. Whee! Splosh! Straight on top of Ticklick. But of course, if you jump on a great big water balloon that isn't going to burst, it acts like a trampoline. And the kangaroos, every time they jumped, they bounced off up into the air, and one of them landed upside down on her tail and hurt. That hurt. So the kangaroos wouldn't jump anymore, not on Ticklick. They had to think. We could try, said the wombats. We could try and sit on her. Well, she was very comfortable, just like a big waterbed, but the water didn't come out of Ticklick. The other animals had to think. Said the carpet snake, the python. I could squeeze her. So he wound himself round and round the big, fat water balloon of Ticklick, and he squeezed. Well, I don't know whether you've ever squeezed a balloon with water in, but if you squeeze it, it'll pop up at the top and pop down at the bottom. But the water just moves around, and that's what happened inside Ticklick the frog. She was able to change shape, but the water didn't come out. Now the animals were getting really thirsty, so they had to think. They said, we've got to try something else. We could make her laugh, said the youngest kangaroo. They thought about this. Yes, if they could make her laugh, if they could make her giggle, then maybe the water would drip out when she opened her mouth. What could make her laugh? We could try tickling her, said the kangaroo. So they asked the birds, and all of the lorikeets took a long feather and they began to tickle Ticklick the frog. Tickle, 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 tickle. Just pretend you've got a feather. Tickle, 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 tickle. Try it again. It's not working. Tickle, 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 tickle. You can do better than that. Tickle, 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 tickle. But her thick, warty skin was too strong. She really didn't feel the tickles. They thought about it. Can we think of something else that might make her laugh? Said the possum. Thought the animals. We could make funny faces. We could make funny shapes. So they all tried making funny faces. Are you ready to make a funny face? Didn't work, did it? No, not funny enough. Try one more. Really funny face. Didn't work. No, not enough. You could try funny noises as well. Ready? 1, 2, 3, funny noise. Ah! No, it didn't work, did it? Wasn't good enough. Said the sugar glider. Have you thought of telling Ticklick a joke? Well, the animals all went away and thought of the best jokes they knew. Have you got a favourite joke? Shall I tell you mine? My favourite joke is, what happens to ducks when they fly upside down? Do you know? No, they quack up. I think that's funny. Do you? You don't? No. Well, I think it's funny. It wasn't funny enough to make a frog laugh. Well, the animals went away and they came up with the funniest joke in the world. Now, I don't know it, but maybe you know it. So I tell you what, try and say your favourite joke. Is it the funniest joke in the world? Well, we'll see. The funniest joke in the world. Ticklick began to shake, and then she shivered. And then she giggled, and then she gurgled, and as she began to giggle and gurgle, the water began to come out of her mouth. And as she went on giggling and gurgling, so the water became a little trickle, and the trickle became a stream, and the stream turned into a river, and the river flowed on, becoming wider and wider, until it became the sea itself. And as the water kept on spreading out, the warmth of the air, the sunshine, took water into the air, and it fell over the land, and it landed as rain. And as it rained, plants and trees grew until there were fields and forests and meadows and jungles, and yes, even rainforest. And all the animals went away to find the water that had made the world so green and growing. But as for Tickelick, she stayed by the pool. She looked at it and she went, "I'm a water animal. I always knew I was a water animal." And she leapt into the pond. But of course the animals didn't need it to drink in anymore, so it was somewhere that a frog could stay and play in the water. Well, I don't know what the funniest joke in the world was, but sometimes when I listen to water from a gurgling stream or a river, or even the trickling when you turn on the tap or a fountain, you can almost, if you listen, really listen, you can almost hear the water laughing. And perhaps it's laughing at a joke it heard long ago, a joke that was so good it even made a frog laugh. Yes, that's a good story, isn't it? Right, well, look, you sit down there for a bit because I want to talk a bit more about the rainforest. See, our rainforest topic has got 6 little subjects that you can have a go at. The first one is Rainforest Layers. Now, I was talking about the rainforest. What makes a rainforest special is the fact that some of the trees want to grow so tall that they can reach the canopy and get to the sunlight. And some animals and birds and butterflies like living up there among the tops of the trees in the sunlight. But deeper down in the shadow, there are different trees and different plants and ferns and mosses that grow. And then deeper down, there's another layer, which is really hidden and shady. And that's a place that some animals who like the secret places prefer. And then there's the ground with all the cover of, and it's really dim and dark and mysterious. And that's where all the creepy crawlers and strange little plants grow. It's a very special place, is the rainforest. You can find out about all the layers and what makes it different from any other sort of woodland or forest. Well, that's one topic. Then there is another one about rainforest homes. People live, if they want to live in a rainforest, they have all sorts of trees, and what there is a lot of is wood. But it's also quite dark, mysterious, and down at the ground it can be quite wet. So you need to lift up the trees, the houses a little bit higher. So you get some very unusual homes. You can find out about rainforest homes. Now, I had to have one topic on the Australian rainforest and the very different animals and birds that live there. That's fun to explore. And we couldn't have a topic called rainforest without talking about the Amazon River. Now, that was a difficult river for people to explore. Maybe you could be an explorer and go and find a new branch of the Amazon River that nobody's seen before, and maybe there would be new animals and fish and birds and insects that live there, and creepy crawlers. And of course there are those Amazon rainforest animals, some of the oddest in the world, and so much fun to find out about. Well, enjoy the rainforest topic, and if you come up with any stories or drawings or animals that have never been discovered before, well, send them to me and I will put them into the gallery. So that's goodbye from me and goodbye from Froggy, who played Tickelick today. Enjoy!